Hi, this is Shelley from the Shelley Homestead. It's been very busy this last week on the homestead. A couple of the projects that we've done are related to the chickens, and then we have some, finally, the weather broke in Michigan, and it's starting to get warmer. I have Milo on my back. And so Brian is able to start working in the garden. So Brian and my brother-in-law Mark were out there working today, or over the weekend, and so I'll show you what they were doing. So first of all, our chicken coop, our brooder, was starting to get a little bit too damp inside with that roof that was on it previously that was the flexible insulation, and it just wasn't allowing the moisture out as it heated up in there. And so Brian and Mark built a new roof to the brooder, so let me show you that. So what it is they built a frame out of 1x stock and then put chicken wire all across the frame and then put some duct tape around the edges to make sure that it wasn't sharp when I went to lift it. And so it's nice, it's really strong, and the chickens are liking it. They like to be able to see. They do startle a little bit more easily now though because they can see everything. But it's nice to be able to walk through and get an eye on them really quick and make sure everyone's doing well. So let me show you. We also, Brian built a new feeder system because the little trough feeder that we have wasn't adequate for the chicks now that they're a little bit bigger. They were going through the food too quickly, and they were also piling all of their bedding on top of it, so then they couldn't find the food. So by the time you'd come out to check on them and you'd dump off just the shavings that had gone on top, they'd go crazy because they hadn't been able to get to the food. So Brian built a hanging feeder. So let me show you that. So this is the prop stick here. You'll see. Let's scooch, guys. So the feeder is hanging from the roof now, from these lengths of chain. Stop right there. And what it is a piece of PVC that's been cut in half, and then boards on the end to prevent the food from falling out the ends of it, and then also a board in the middle here to prevent them from knocking it off and to give them, just basically to prevent extra food loss. And so they've been liking this new feeder quite a bit. There are some improvements that we think we're going to make. One being that with this 2x4 in the middle of it here, it's a little bit hard for them to get all the way into the bottom of the trough. And so they just have trouble getting the last bit of food out. And then the other part of it is they really like to roost on it. So we might be altering it to help prevent some of that as well. So you'll see when I go ahead and put this down here. There you go, babes. Sometimes they don't move and they get caught under it a bit. So you just have to be careful when you're putting it down. You can see them roosting on it right there. Now, they did also build me a couple of roost bars for the chickens. You'll see the long one there and the shorter one back in the corner behind the heat lamp. And the chickens like those a lot, don't get me wrong, but this feeder seems to be a preferred spot. I think it just generally is whichever is the highest. So, that is what's new with the brooder setup. We're planning on building the mobile pens for the chickens this weekend. And then by the end of the month, it's the 1st of April today, and so by the end of the month, we will be hopefully getting them out on pasture into the grass so that they can forage some for their food and just generally be happier and have more space to roam. And I'm being followed by our current resident chickens who think I have food every single time I come out to see them, or even just to be in the yard in general. Sometimes getting in the car is a little bit of a challenge because they try to attack me for food. So, Brian, like I said, was getting out here with Mark and building some stuff in the garden. So we have these raised beds out here that Brian and Mark have built over the last couple of years. Let me give you a show. And so what we did is they built hoop houses over top of them with PVC and just some sheathing plastic. And so what that'll do is with the sun coming in, it'll trap the heat inside of them and allow for the soil to heat up, so that right now the soil is completely frozen solid. There's no way you can till it, there's no way you can plant in it. So what this does by trapping the heat in there will thaw the soil faster than it normally would. So the plan is that after a week of these being on with some sunshine, it will have melted the soil enough, thawed it out, that we can get in and start tilling and prepping the beds and adding some organic matter so that when we go to plant, it'll be all ready. So those, here, let me give you a better shot here. What they did for these is, on one side you can see they tacked these boards onto the plastic. They screwed them in so that the plastic is secure, and you can see the PVC is being held by some conduit holders here. And that just provides a rigid way to support the PVC in order to get the bend in it to go all the way over to the other side. And it is very, very windy around here today. And they are holding up pretty well. We had one issue with the staples coming out on this side where they were, I should say, tacked onto this board here. And so what Brian ended up doing is sandwiching the plastic between two 1x and screwing them together so that it wouldn't have that problem anymore. And they're holding up well, and they look nice, and hopefully they'll get us able to plant a little bit faster than we would otherwise if we just waited for the weather to heat up the soil naturally. The last thing that we've been working on this weekend is Brian came across this old splitting wall head at his dad's house, and so it didn't have a handle, it was just the head. And so we bought a handle and we put the handle on so that I now have a splitting maul that doesn't completely kill my arms when I try to split kindling. It works great. Put a nice edge on it. Brian oiled it with some linseed oil. A lot of times these handles come with varnish on them. And the problem with the varnish is that it can be really, really harsh on your hands. It'll tear up your hands. And so the first thing he always does when he rehandles something, or any wood-handled project at all, is he sands off the varnish and puts on a finish such as oil. And the oil keeps the wood nice and conditioned, but it won't tear up your hands at all. It's pretty soft on your hands. So that is what has been going on the homestead this week. And we are, a couple other things I forgot. We submitted our application to participate in a local farmers market, so hopefully that all goes through and you guys can come see us there. And the other thing is we put in our first order for meat chickens. So they will be coming in the beginning of May, and I can't wait. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to expand our production into meat and to see what the market is for that, and to be able to provide myself and our family and this little guy with some healthy, humanely raised meat that is going to be the very best product that we can get. So thank you for watching, and if you like this sort of thing, make sure to thumbs up and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, as well as check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Shelley Homestead. Thank you for watching.